talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Want to welcome everybody. We're back for a new show, a new segment of the Changing Stage with Florentino Buenaventura. And we have some great guests on board with us today. Well, we have the first guest, a personal friend of mine, a luthier extraordinaire, luthier to the stars. We have Fred Marotta from the Repair Zone. He is on board with us to talk a little bit about the guitars that he's worked on, talk about all the different things that his shop does, and kind of give some insight on what people should look at when they're buying a used guitar, as well as what they should think about when it comes down to setup of those used guitars. So, Fred, welcome.
Thank you, Tino.
So, you have a shop here called the Repair Zone.
Correct. Here in San Diego, I've been in business just about 30 years now. What we are is a full-on string instrument repair shop. I consider myself more of a technician than a luthier, but I honor that title. Luthiers are guys who actually build and bend the wood for more acoustic instruments, violins, and etc. But I love being a guitar tech, a string instrument tech also. And what we do, like we've done for you so many times, is take a guitar to its maximum playability. Guitars are born one way, and they really need the TLC to get them dialed in. We do major repairs, minor repairs. Key thing is setups, which is to maximize a guitar's playability, new or used or in between. The maintenance of a guitar, which is extremely necessary that most people don't sometimes understand. We're all about the customer's needs. We don't just take them in and work on them. We ask a lot of questions because a guitar is a very personal, soulful thing. It's organic, it is natural, and it reflects where you're at with what you want to be as a guitar player, as a musician, and as a person who just loves this insane thing that drives us all crazy that we got to have a guitar. You know, whether it's a bass.
You know that all too well.
Oh, yeah.
I got a new guitar for you to work on. I brought one in here.
Oh, boy, more business. Just what I need, which I appreciate. But that's what we do. And I would love to talk to the invisible audience out there about their instruments. So if there's any questions that I could help them with, I'd love to go there. Well,
I'd like to give a plug, if that's okay. The repairzone.com is the...
Yeah, it's repairzone@yahoo.com. Our website is a little precarious right now, so if you need me, just email.
Yeah.
And I might even get back to you. Computers they don't have strings on them, so anything without strings might as well be a bowl of Chinese food. I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out. So anyway...
well, you can always got spaghetti. They have strings, right?
Hell yes. Yeah, I'm right there. But... we are in San Diego at 8125 Ronson Road. It's a little industrial park area. Like I said, been in business almost 30 years now. And I've got a great crew. People always use my name, drop my name, but, any good business is as strong as its employees. And my two guys that work for me, Jeff Knoll and Buck Van Lerhausen, are not just employees. They're my friends. They're excellent musicians and very, very good technicians more than anything. They know what they're doing. And I learn from them, which is cool, because the one soulful thing that I like to be is always learning. People say, wow, you've been doing it forever. You must be the ultimate expert. I was like, no, stop. You keep learning. Just like a musician, you learn a new song, you learn new chops, you watch, observe, and take it all in. And this way you can give back better. And that's what my two guys do. I learn from them, and they're younger than me, way younger. And sometimes I want to hit it with a big hammer. And they say, no, let's do it the right way. And I'm like, well, if we have to, but it all ends up good, and the customer gets our best service possible.
Yeah, well, I can personally testify. Here's my testimony. I went to a number of different setup shops, and they were good. I'm not going to name any names, but I kept hearing your name. Everyone kept saying, you got to go to Fred over at the Repair Zone. And I'm like, well, I've got a buddy who does it. And, I went to this store that I buy guitars at. And next thing I know, I was like, okay, I was never really satisfied. So I brought my guitar. It was actually another PRS over to you. And I was just floored with what you did with it. It played like butter, and you took something that was in need of a lot of TLC and made it something really playable. I've since moved on to playing bass, and I've got my producer Paul Berezetsky. He's our guitar player, and you've done brought him over there, and so we've got some. I could say to all the folks that are listening right now that this is the shop. If you're in town, or even if you're not in town, maybe you want to mail in your guitar. You could work that out with Fred, but he is the guitar tech for the Stars, and I kind of want to lead into that now. Tell me about some of the customers that you've had and what you've done for them, the specialty axes that you've done.
Well, through the years, we've done a lot of the local talent, wonderful guys and girls who've come to us for their needs to be met. We take care of them. Years and years ago, I did a lot of work for Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam.
Oh, wow.
We're still in some contact. He's moved on to bigger and better things, and he's in Seattle now. He used to live here, right? Yeah, he used to live in San Diego. He had a group years ago in the 80s called Bad Radio.
Okay.
And then moved on. STP were my clients for a long time, before they became, rich and famous.
STP, yeah.
STP, great guys. The
Stone Temple Pilots, for you folks trying to figure that one out.
The DeLeo brothers, very good guys. Oh, who else? Unwritten Law. I did a lot of work for them as they were up and coming.
Yeah.
Wonderful guys. Who's those guys? There's so many. A lot of local jazz guys. Mundell Lowe, I'm very honored to do his work. He's a grandfather of jazz, and he is a great world-class jazz musician that I really am truly honored to do work for him. I get to do all his fret work, which I love to do, take care of his instruments, and he has a wonderful collection of guitars. He's been playing 80 years, and he's met everybody from Django Reinhardt to Les Paul, and he's one of those. Those are the type of people that really make me feel real good about what I do, that they come to me, they have a need, and I can meet that for them, and continuously. You were so kind to say that you've been to other shops, and I get that a lot, and I never cop an attitude, because there are guys in town who do great work, and I believe in cooperation, not competition.
Yeah.
I am very personal about my work, though, and I get really upset when I see bad work. I kind of don't care where you go, just please do good work on somebody's guitar, but I'm glad they come to me, But those are the type of people that I've done work for that make you feel, once again, real good about what you're doing, that those kind of cats would come to you. Good musicians like you and Paul also. To me, I just love anybody that plays guitar. And we do a lot of amateurs, a lot of beginners, a lot of people that play at church, a lot of people who do it for the love of the instrument. Long before, in the turn of the last century, there was houses came with parlors. People would make their own music. They weren't thinking about being rock stars. They weren't thinking about being on stage.
Yeah.
They made music because there wasn't even radio then. People played violin, piano. There's always a piano in the house. And there was guitars, and people made music, and it was so cool to think back that people were sitting around. That was their entertainment. That was their joy of life, to do that. People got real good. Actually, musicians in the old days were amateurs, but really good.
Yeah.
And that's what I see in my shop. We get a guy in there that'll come in, and he just plays at home, and I look at his guitar, and it's worn out. I mean, the frets are gone. It's filthy. And I go, where do you play, dude? Just around the house. And I'm like, good for you. It really makes me feel good. 'Cause that's what guitars are born for. I'm not into this collectability stuff and it's worth $1 zillion and all that stuff. It's like, well, it was first made to be played, That's what it was all about, Sure, it's worth $1 zillion. I wouldn't mind having one of those so I could sell it immediately. But, I like them because they're meant to be played. It makes music. It brings out your soul. What are you trying to say inside,
You know what? That's kind of funny you said that, because what was going through my mind is that your repair shop is the repair shop with soul. Anybody that I've brought there, I think you did some work for a buddy of ours, Brock, and Bankson. I don't know if you remember Brock. Sure. He brought in a couple of guitars.
Yeah, bounced 3 checks. Yeah, but he's okay. No, he didn't. He's cool. Yeah, we don't take checks.
Yeah. So he fell in love with what you did. And,
cool.
And he's basically, that's everyone who goes to you says, this is the repair shop with soul, because you really care about the guitars and you care about your clients.
I do. A lot of stores, a lot of businesses play lip service to people, which you have to do. If it's a tire shop, how really excited could you get about a nice new fresh pair of Michelins? But guitars represent to me something else. It is, once again, not to keep repeating myself, but they are very personal. When people make music, there's something different going on than other hobbies or interests. It's so, people write songs, and maybe it's the worst song you ever heard, but to that guy, it's the best song. And maybe he's trying to convey an emotion or a feeling, something deep, something from his childhood, something love for a person, something for his religion. It doesn't matter to me. This thing called a guitar, this object, this mechanical thing, brings out things in people, and that's why I do put a lot of personality into what I build, into what my crew and I do, into dealing with customers. People come in, when they have been to the shops, one thing that I ask a lot of questions, especially if it's a first-time guy.
Fred, I don't want to interrupt you. We're going to actually be going to commercial here very shortly. So I want to resume that thought. So keep that thought in mind.
Absolutely.
We are going to be talking a bit more about that. My name is Florentino Buenaventura, and this is The Changing Stage with Fred Marotta from the Repair Zone.
Thank you for listening to WS Radio. Improve your business and your life with useful information from experts and thought leaders. WS Radio is radio with ROI.
You may have heard me brag about Progressive Medical Center and just how much they've helped me with my health. And Dr. Goley, one thing that you have helped so many people with is migraines.
Unfortunately, there are millions and millions of Americans who are suffering with migraines and headaches, and they're debilitating because it affects the quality of their life, and they cannot function properly. At Progressive, we get to the root cause because we understand that migraines could be caused by nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, believe it or not, delayed food sensitivities. And once we determine what the real reason is, we put a plan of action together with medication that we get them off slowly, and we put them on an all-natural approach, and the results are amazing.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many people that can say they don't live their lives with migraines anymore thanks to Progressive Medical Center.
And that's what's exciting and rewarding to us as physicians, because we help our patients take control of their health, and that's why they're living well.
Why don't you get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today? Don't live in pain. Don't have migraines anymore. Just go to their website, progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life. Live it well.
Your guy, Doug Young, here for Sports Squawk Saturday with your guy, Doug Young, here on WSRadio.com. Hear hot Charger talk from the biggest names in sports every Saturday here on WS Radio.
In the military, things can change in an instant. At Navy Mutual Aid Association, we understand because it's our life too. That's why our dedication to serving the life insurance needs of our military veterans and their families is unrivaled. Navy Mutual offers superior life insurance protection without military service restrictions and limitations. A single focus on providing the peace of mind military families are looking for. That's what we do. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve. Call 800-628-6011 or go to NavyMutual.org.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to the Changing Stage. Music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
All right, we are back from our sponsor break. My name's Florentino Buenaventura because I know that from the introduction. I always feel like I'm going to go boxing with my guests after that, huh? Actually, that kind of segues into some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. That guitar line was played by my producer, Paul Berezetsky, and it was done on one of the guitars that you put together.
Strat.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Tasty chops, Paul.
Thank you. I think it was actually recorded before we took it in.
Oh, okay.
It still had the red body on it.
The hideous body.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds a lot better now. So I want to finish up what we were talking about earlier. So we had the soul of your shop, and you were sharing some stuff with us during the break. I thought it was really great stuff about how you care about your customers, and you're like that. We look back in the days of hot rods. You're like that guy that builds these artworks.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the other thing I'm coming from. I'm almost 60 years old now, and I come from it sounds weird, but a different time. The world was different 30, 40 years ago, and the 60s were an exciting time of innovative guitars starting to come out of this thing that companies produced into really changed in the 70s. Innovations came about in the 80s, and it just exploded. But the main thing is the simple equation is it's still a human touch that's doing something to
organic,
it. It's organic, yeah. And that's where I get really, I was telling you that I get real personal about guitars. Ask a lot of questions. We have to ask a lot of questions. When somebody comes in the shop and they need a basic setup. Setup is where you take a guitar. It's like a tune-up for your car. It's some new guitars are so well made you can buy them, go right to the gig. 95% of the guitars out there or more currently need a setup. It's partially because of manufacturing.
Yeah,
quick manufacturing.
Up to manufacturing,
and then they're shipped. They sit in a store. They get played in a store, or even the guitars you may buy online that are absolutely brand new. Some companies, you'll see that they say they've put a setup on them. They have a little checklist. Sort of, kind of, maybe, mostly no. It's a checklist to make sure the thing functions. If cars were set up as nicely as guitars from the factory, you couldn't drive it. It'd just be terrible. They manufacture a car and it goes to the lot. You got a guy checking it out. Is this engine timed right? Is everything, the door shut evenly? Yeah, just the little things. Nobody does that with guitars. And that's why shops like mine, and thank God we're busy to prove it, is that a lot of setups come in. Most people who get discouraged playing guitars isn't because of lack of ability or talent. Mostly it's the thing hurts them when they play.
Yeah.
Or that doesn't sound right. How can people play? I get the same questions over and over again for the last 30 years. How do people do that? The guitarists play like that and they hand me their guitar and their action or the distance of the strings of the fretboard is like an inch off. I'm like, no, you need to have this set up. You need to have it made to be playable. 99 or more % of the guitars out there just simply need a quick adjustment, sometimes a major, but fortunately, a quick adjustment, and boom, they're good to go.
And I would say that setups, and you could probably elaborate more on this, are very personal to the player, because some players like a high action, players like it very low. Like for me, I love my bass really low on the action.
Gee, I never heard that before. It's true. That's a really good question, because the number one thing is that we ask, and that's why we ask a lot of questions. How do you play? Sometimes we have to have people show me how you play. There's obvious things we see, like in experience in my business, if you see there's a lot of pick scratches across the face of a guitar, acoustic or electric, you know that person is playing really hard.
Yeah,
and if they use a heavy string and a big thick pick, you know that, okay, I'm going to have to set up this guitar a particular way, because this cat may say, oh, dude, I want low action, but if he's playing that hard, he's going to make those strings buzz all over the fretboard. So you kind of compensate back and forth. But we ask a lot of questions from where are you at, where are you going, what kind of music do you do, what kind of amp do you play through, do you play at church, do you play at home, do you play with a band? Are you out playing? What's your touch like? Do you have a hard right hand? A lot of people say, man, nobody ever asked me questions like that. It's like, yeah, because I got to know how you play to make this thing play right.
Be your guitar.
The individual's guitar. Yeah, the personal, and that's where the personal touch comes in, which me and my gallant crew always strive for, because like you like low action. A lot of guys do. Now you, Tino, in the way you play, you may have a very light right hand. For example, bass players, that's a great point. One question we ask, do you play with a pick, or do you play with your fingers, or both?
You thumping, whatever.
Yeah,
because I remember those questions.
Popping and slapping, because everything has to be set up to accommodate that particular player's needs. If you're popping and slapping, you're going to need maybe the action set up a little different than the cat who's playing heavy metal with a pick, from the guy who's playing jazz with his fingers. It's everything. It's in the touch. It's all about the touch.
So kind of let's pick up that PRS guitar right there. And tell me what you think might be a suggestion for something like this. So to let everybody know, we picked this up off Craigslist. We've got it for a decent price. We bought it for the $150 range with a hard shell case.
Really?
It's a PRS Santana.
Wow.
Obviously not the American made. It's the Korean made. And thought it was a pretty good action, and but there's always things that you can do about it. They did a little sanding of the neck to make it a little bit faster.
Well, this guitar, first of all, I got to say, Paul Reed Smiths represent one of those guitars out of modern times, the American-made ones that literally you can go right from wherever you bought it right to the stage. They are perfect guitars. You pay for that. But everybody should take a lesson, because that's how guitars used to be in the old days. Literally set and ready to go. Paul Reed Smith has a lot of pride in his work, and it shows. Now, when he invented came out with, I should say, the SE series, the Korean-made ones, I was talking to them one day trying to get some parts, and they said, this is some years ago before they came out, they said, we're going to have a new line of guitars for this price range. I said, wait a minute, where are they made? He goes, well, offshore. I said, how far offshore? He goes, Korea. I thought, oh boy, here we go. And he goes, well, you don't know. They come to Connecticut first. We check everyone out. If it's no good, it goes back. We cut it in half.
Yeah.
We're not going to let the public have anything with our name on it. It's garbage. And I have never, ever, and I'm saying this truthfully, I don't sell them. I don't make money on them other than when people bring them to me. I will just say this as a person who loves guitars. These things are really, really good for the money. One of the best values in the market out there.
Especially for $150, right?
$150 is a giveaway price. The parts alone. I mean, somebody needed to make rent really bad, I think.
So setup-wise, what would you do with this?
The only thing I would see that this one is actually set up pretty good. Looks like somebody had some work done. They've changed out the bridge pickup for a Seymour Duncan brand pickup.
That's that's the
JB. Okay, JB. Okay. Actually, it stands for Jazz Bridge. Everybody thinks it's Jeff Beck. As a little piece of history for it, because Seymour used to do a lot of work for
Jeff Beck,
their friends, and he invented the pickup like one of Beck's old Gibson pickups. But they have to actually use the name. It's actually Jazz Bridge.
Okay.
But it's got JB, so everybody thinks. But it's cool. Nobody cares. Jeff Beck, he's so cool. He's so cool. He doesn't care, But he doesn't make a dime off of it. This one's got 4-conductor wire, and so it's got a coil tap on it, which is cool, with a push-pull pot on the volume, so you can get a single coil sound out of it.
Yeah, I know you haven't had a chance to hear the electronics, but
I'm sure it's good.
They tested it out.
Somebody put a different nut on it, and they did a good job. Somebody did a real nice job. They used a synthetic bone material. I can tell that that right away. And somebody did a good job. Someone's worked on this and done a very good job. The back of the neck has been sanded down a little bit. A lot of guys don't like high gloss on the finish because if you sweat a lot, you can kind of skid a little bit. And in the years gone by, people started removing finish and putting oil finishes on. So that's cool. They did a nice job. They made it nice and clean. And the vibrato or the bridge is sitting parallel with the body properly. So whoever did the setup, the saddles are adjusted correctly to the radius. So actually, Timo, I'm not going to be able to make any money on this one, baby. This one's pretty good to go. Yeah. I mean, I'll put some extra love into it for you and give you a discount. How's that?
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
But no, she's cool.
We always bring our guitars over to you to make sure they're set up, and that's what I love about you. You're going to tell me, do I need to do something or do I not need to do something?
You know, I need to make money. I run a business. I have a wife, a bunch of cats, a mortgage, and you know what? Nothing's free, and we live in California, so it's all expensive. But you know what? I run an honest shop. If I have to tell the truth. Sometimes I tell people, man, there's nothing more I can do for your guitar. It's cool. Go home and play it. Save your money. And sometimes when a guitar is really, really bad, I sometimes have to beg people, please, you deserve a new guitar. Yeah. I can't resurrect this. You know, it's gone, baby, gone. You know, it's a wall hanging. Give it to a charity. It's gone every so often. And then I got the bad habit of trying to bring everything back to life, so I'm busier than I need to be with a lot of projects. But something like this, if you walked into my shop and I didn't know you, even if I do know you, but I might raise the bridge pickup up for a little bit more volume, double check the intonation, make sure. Basically what I would do in a guitar like this, probably put a setup on it, just to double check everything. Just to make sure the car is running right before you go on a trip. You know, that's it. Other than that, the SEs, anybody out there, budgeted or not, if you want to get yourself a cool axe, you probably aren't going to get as good a deal as Timo, but this is swinging, man. This is really cool. I mean, the pickup alone is $100. You know,
it is. It's great. It's great. So what we're going to do here is you did a guitar for a custom guitar for my producer Paul Berezetsky, and he's going to play a little bit. It's a Warmoth, and what you did is you replaced the body with a actual Strat USA model. So go ahead and play on out, Paul. Get into the next segment. And he's playing off of a Line 6 plugged into our radio system.
Which always sounds cool. Cool.
All right. There we go. We are now back into commercials. We'll be back with you shortly.
The key to a successful business is astute and solid promotion. Instant Imprints offers limitless solutions and everything you need to promote your business, event, or cause. From t-shirts to banners, trade show displays, mugs, business cards, we can imprint on anything from pens, golf balls, clothing, vehicles, and any type of customer giveaways. In order to grow, you must promote, and Instant Imprints is your full-service company to help you in all of your marketing and promotional needs. Locally owned and operated, and prices that will be music to your budget and a turnaround time that will make you smile. 2 San Diego locations to serve you, downtown and in Mira Mesa at Flanders. It's Instant Imprints for all your promotional needs. Remember our name, Instant Imprints.
Love to read but just don't have the time? With Audible.com, you can catch up on reading simply by listening. Audible has the largest collection of digital audiobooks, over 85,000 titles in every genre. Listen to a bestseller on your iPhone, BlackBerry, Android smartphone, or one of 500 other compatible devices. Visit audible.com/WS Radio today and get a free audiobook when you try Audible free for 14 days. That's audible.com/WS Radio.
You've heard me bragging about Progressive Medical Center and how they've helped me feel so much healthier. But one thing, Dr. Agoli, that a lot of people come to you with is just unexplained pain. They just can't get any relief. Why can Progressive Medical Center's pain management center Center help them?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that pain is for real, and you've got acute pain and chronic pain. Here's the problem. That acute pain turns to chronic, which is long-standing, and no one's getting to the root cause. There's several key diagnostic components that help us get to the root of what's causing this pain. Is it inflammation? Once we do a thorough evaluation to get to the root cause, determine if it's structural or if it's a metabolic issue. And this way, we put an individualized program for pain management involving correcting the spine, using certain injections when necessary, and we get our patients out of pain quicker, and they stay out of pain because we teach them how to live their life well.
Don't let yourself live in pain any longer. Get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today at progressivemedicalcenter.com.
Progressive Medical, this is your life, live it well.
When it comes to printers, Canon technology has changed the way images and text are put to paper. Canon's laser beam printer technology has redefined both color and black and white printing standards in over 80% of the world's laser printer. Canon's bubble jet printing technology has completely revolutionized color printing by consistently delivering new innovations from personal use and home office businesses to corporate solutions. Canon printers have the technology and reliability you're looking for. Learn more at Canon.com.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
Alrighty, we're back. My name is Florentino Buenaventura, and this is the Changing Stage. We're going to finish up our conversation with Fred Marotta, and then we've got a really amazing special guest who is waiting on the phone with us as John Christ, formerly of Danzig, and now the John Christ Project. We'll be getting to John very shortly. I just wanted to let Fred kind of finish up what he did with the guitar that we played earlier.
Yeah, what we did for Paul here is we took he had a great neck to start with, a Warmoth Strat neck, and good components, electronic components. And what he needed was a new body for the guitar and a bridge. We gave him and fixed up the electronics which weren't working properly. And we do what we call as our naked guitars. We actually trademark that. We build a line of guitars. They're in the style of, but not from the company, but they look like Fender Stratocasters or Fender Telecasters or Jazz and P basses, such like that. Sometimes custom jobs. Many guys build a lot of guitars like this. We're not affiliated with Fender. We honor and respect their what they've done, but their bodies are available. And that's something that if you got a Strat that's just not working for you, we can put a new body on it, as a lot of guys do.
And it's made a difference in the sound for sure. It's been a great guitar for Paul. He won't put it down. He won't even pick up the Les Paul that you worked on for him anymore. So, well, now that kind of brings us into great guitarist. A good friend of mine. He is a phenomenal guitarist. John, are you there?
Can you hear me, Tino?
I can hear you. How's it going, John?
I'm doing all right, man.
Everybody, we have John.
Just warming up on a little classical guitar for you.
Oh, that is awesome. John Christ here, everybody. I feel honored and blessed. A good friend of mine from Los Angeles. You moved back east, right, John?
Yeah, I'm back east in Manchester, Maryland.
Oh, wow. Well, I appreciate
in the Great White East, where all the snow and mud and ice are at the moment.
Gives you a whole lot. Great, man. Gives you a whole lot of time to play some of the guitar work that you've been. I've been looking at your stuff online, and I'm always amazed by your playing. So you folks know John Christ is one of the top 100 metal guitarists of all time.
Oh, geez.
Hey, I didn't give you that designation. I would definitely give you that designation, but that is by Guitar Player magazine. So, you used to play with a band called Danzig. You guys were a big stadium.
I'm so popular, people are calling in on the phone now trying to break through.
Hey, you're on the radio, John. We hear you. So, yeah, John, tell me a little bit about your history. You started off back east in Jersey, right? And then, where did it go from there?
Actually, I'll try and give you the cliff notes. We started out Baltimore, Maryland. You know, Joan Jett started it here, and there were some Zappa sightings here, and home of the Ravens. And I grew up in a small town just outside of Baltimore, and went to a local college, Towson, and I was doing music and everything, and did some classical guitar at Peabody, but I really wanted to do rock and roll. So folks said, hey, if you're going to play rock and roll, you got to go to school. So I was going to school, and one of my buddies I used to play Little League Baseball with said, hey, man, I'm working downtown. Now, this is once we were all grown up, and he said, you know, there's a band up in New York that's looking for a guitar player. You ever heard of the Misfits? And I'm like, Misfits, I hate punk rock. Well, 6 months later, he came back around. It was the holidays, ran into him in a club, Hammerjacks, that used to be down here in Baltimore. And he said, hey, that group's still looking for a guitar player. They're being produced by Rick Rubin and this and that. And, you know, you're on break. Why don't you, check it out and audition? So I got in touch with them. I auditioned, and next thing you know, loaded up the truck and moved to New York. Wow. Yeah, actually, it was New Jersey. Yeah, I had to drop out of school right before the spring semester, and I guess that was, 86, 87, and moved up to New Jersey, New York, and started working with Rick Rubin and Glenn Danzig and Erie Vaughn. We had a different drummer, and then during that time, Chuck Biscuits came in, and we started, after a second audition, we started working on the first Danzig album right there in the rehearsal studio, which was Top Hat, that was owned by Aerosmith. Wow. One of the Aerosmith guys owned the studio, so that's where it all started.
Well, that's big stuff, and you were a young guy back then, man. You were just, barely
21.
21. That's incredible. Yep. That's rock and roll right there, folks.
Well, that was the goal. I just skimmed in under my, like a few days, 2 weeks before my 22nd birthday, I got the gig.
So what was that like? You kind of went into this crazy world. Rick Rubin, a big producer, he came from hip-hop. He was doing stuff with Run DMC, LL Cool J, and then you've got this other guy, Glenn Danzig. He had this very theatrical type of production with the whole I guess the satanic thing that they did and stuff like that. What did you think of when you got into that environment? What was going through your mind?
Well, when I first heard the music, I was like, wow, this is different. I was expecting just Misfits, punk rock, Who Killed Marilyn, Die, My Darling, and all that. But the band at the time was Sam Hain. The music was darker. It was almost like there was some punk in it, but there was almost some heavy metal in there too. And I heard that, and I said, rough around the edges, but I think I can do something with this. So that got me interested. At the time, I didn't know much about Rick Rubin other than Run DMC and the Beastie Boys.
Okay, yeah.
That was before You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party came out. It was actually before that.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
They were still just up and comers, and I was like, wow, it's kind of weird, this hip-hop guy wanting to do, rock and roll, but then I heard that he had just signed Slayer. So I was like, okay, this is getting a little interesting. Didn't know anything about Glenn except, the few Misfits songs I'd heard. I was a rock and roll kid. I was into Ted Nugent, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Boston, Kansas, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix. That's what I was all about,
Well, you definitely have.
But to answer your question, Tino, guapo. Que paso, guapo?
Yeah,
anyway, it was a total shock because I wasn't sure what I was getting into. Because at first, Glenn didn't really know how to take me because I was all high energy and I wasn't so dark. But basically, Rick sat me down. He took me down. This is what did it. He took me down to Greenwich Village, said we're going to get some pizza, and we went in this dark hallway, opened up the door, boom, purple carpeting, tie-dye on the walls. It was Jimi Hendrix Electric Lady Studios. It just blew me away. I got chills. Chills ran up the back of my neck and down my spine, and I was with my buddy from Catonsville who got me the connection in the first place, and we just started giggling like, oh my God, I can't believe we're in Hendrix's studio. There were platinum records on the wall and gold records, and I was like, oh man, I think this is a real deal. I got to do whatever I can to get this gig. And Rick said, you know what? You make me happy, that'll make Glenn happy. But we're going to have to change your look, your attitude, your style, just about everything, except your playing.
And your name,
and
right?
And they changed my playing, too.
Your playing and your name, right?
Yeah, they changed my name and everything. For a year and a half, we were I was going out to the store and getting books of baby names, trying to come up with cool names. And Glenn and Rick settled on John Christ, because they got a last-minute thing and said, we got to put the name in for credits right now. So that was it. Boom. I was dubbed.
And then you've been going by it ever since. Well, you've worn it well. You've worn it well. So those stories are amazing. What would be one of the that one story you'd say is the kind of defining the experience for you?
There are so many like that, but for me, I think the moment when I felt like the band had really arrived, there were a couple of them. When the first time I went to L.A., and we did a show, we were opening up for Slayer at the Palace in Hollywood. Oh, yeah. And they had oversold the show, and the kids started rioting in the streets. And there were helicopters flying around, and there were riot police with their masks and, their shields trotting up and down the street, and it was just crazy. And I was going to the gig with a friend of mine, and we heard Mother on the radio. Okay. And it was the first time I'd heard the song on the radio, and I was just like, wow, this is so cool. They're playing our song on the radio, and I'm going to the gig, and there are riot police outside. It was just amazing. Oh. And we opened up for Slayer.
That's what rock and roll is all about. That's definitely
a tale. I had to borrow one of Kerry King's guitars because my BC Rich, the neck got broken on the airplane on the flight out.
Oh, man.
So they only let me bring two guitars. I had a Les Paul and I had my BC Rich. BC Rich's neck got snapped in the flight case, so I borrowed a Mockingbird from Kerry King. And I've been trying to buy it from him ever since, and he won't sell it.
Well, that's a good segue. We're going to take a commercial break right now, John. We're going to come back in a few minutes, but we're going to talk about the gear that you're using. The gear that you used before, the BC Rich that you had, and then kind of what you're doing now, and then kind of the direction of music and gear and all that fun stuff. When we come back in a few short minutes.
That sounds great. I'll be here.
Are you an adventurous wine drinker? Would you enjoy trying a bold red with dark fruit and a spicy finish from Hungary? Or an Amphora-style Chivi Pinot with layers of complex flavors? Carpathian Wines hand selects extraordinary wines from premier Central European wineries. At CarpathianWines.com, you'll find amazing dry whites, big juicy reds, even the famous Tokaja Azul. Discover award-winning limited production wines from the heart of Central Europe. Find them only at CarpathianWines.com.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children.
After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
If you heard that sound, you probably are eligible for insurance from Navy Mutual, insuring the men and women of the Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard. Here's what one policyholder, retired Navy Commander Thomas Dade, had to say.
Navy Mutual is the best insurance decision I ever made. I wish you had a savings plan available that earned the rates my Navy Mutual insurance has been earning.
Navy Mutual Aid Association, started by military members in 1879, serves active, reserve, and retired military today. Navy Mutual honors our military by providing them affordable life insurance with the features they need without fine print, sales fees, or military service restrictions. Value, integrity, trust, and stability are the cornerstones on which our commitment to you and your loved ones are built. Call Navy Mutual at 1-800-628-6011 or NavyMutual.org for your personal life insurance plan consultation. 1-800-628-6011 or NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
When did men lose their way? Was it Hollywood portraying us as wimps? Is it the daytime serials where we're on our hands and knees begging for affection from women? Is it all the talk shows telling us women want a sensitive guy or a macho man? Well, guy, how does it feel to spend $200 on a couple of dates and never hear from the girl again? Doc Love's The System can change all that. 35 plus years of Doc Love's life has been devoted to a simple question posed to over 10,000 women. Why do you choose to stay with one guy versus another? Doc Love's The System is a realistic approach to dating written just for men. Visit DocLove.com today. That's DocLove.com today for more about The System. It's time to reclaim your manhood. DocLove.com. The System will change your life.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to the Changing Stage, music gear talk from the manufacturers and musicians who define the biz. Here's your host, Florentino Buenaventura.
We're back. Oh, keep playing, John. Keep playing.
All right, man. I'll keep playing.
Everybody, you've got your own private concert from John Christ, only on the Changing Stage. Johnny! Ooh, that was beautiful, man. That's beautiful. And it's kind of funny. That kind of segues us into a little bit about what you're doing now. Tell us, you're one of the greatest metal guitarists of all time, but that wasn't metal. That was classical. And you've kind of changed your direction. You're doing some different things. You're teaching. You've kind of moved into some areas. I know we've talked about Tommy Emmanuel being a big influence on you. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Tommy Emmanuel he's become, I was turned on to him actually way back in the 70s by an exchange student, Noel Messon, that came to my family home in the town where I grew up. And I was like, yeah, the guy was great, but I was too young to appreciate it. Well, almost 30 years later, I started listening to all this stuff. I met Tommy. I went to see him play a couple of times. And I even jam with him. And he's like the best in the world. And he actually said I was good. We had fun. We played classical, we played classical gas together, and we were jamming and riffing off of each other. And it was just like, he's like a Mozart. He's just not human. I think he's one of those aliens from the tabloids, from Men in Black movies and stuff,
I've watched his stuff. A mutual friend of ours, Noel, Leander, shared your inspiration of his guitar work with me, and I was floored. So I mean, you've got a whole collection of us out there just kind of learning from you and falling in love with this type of guitar work. So it kind of tells us, what are you doing now musically? You had Flesh Caffeine that you launched on your own.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, and that was post Danzig.
Okay.
And they call it the vanity album, if you will. And that was an interesting period of my life where I was writing songs, and I was still brokenhearted over the divorce of the band. And I put out some dark songs on there, and some searching songs, some angry songs, some fun, sexy songs, Flesh Caffeine and that kind of stuff. And that was a lot of fun, but just couldn't get it off the ground. I had a band, fell apart, and then I ran out of money and ran out of energy and kind of crashed and burned for a while, and said, you know what, I'm going to take a break from the music thing for a while and do some other things. During that period is when I met our mutual friend, and I got into a different side of the entertainment business. But time goes by, and music was always in the background, calling me to come back. And it was 2004, I had a bad accident.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, I got ejected out of a truck into oncoming traffic and run over on the freeway at 70 miles an hour. And so it took me about 6-8 years to be able to play again. And so that changed everything. My style of play changed, and my ears changed, and I started getting a little more into blues and acoustic stuff, and a little bit further away from the heavy metal and the electric stuff. I still loved it, but I didn't. It was different. The acoustic instruments were better rehab for my fingers and my joints. And now, where I am, since I've moved back from California, I've gone back to college. I'm taking classical guitar lessons. I'm in ensembles. I'm in rock ensembles, and I'm teaching. And my methods of teaching are completely custom and catered to the individual needs of the student. And what's happened is I've learned through all the experience that I have, I can watch and listen to many or just about anybody play and see if I can give them some shortcuts and some tips and tricks to allow them to get to where they want to go. Some people are wonderful players. They've just forgotten that they're supposed to feel what they're playing. Other people can feel, but they're not confident about their reading or their execution. Some people have a lot of that, but they have no idea about equipment and gear and what to buy and where to buy it. And so there's so many of these areas of education. So sometimes I'm like a typical instructor. Other times I'm more like a coach. Sometimes I'm just a friend or a mentor.
Well, we've been talking a lot about this on the show. It's really kind of doing everything you have with soul, and I think that, when I first met you, I can say, like, I was saying with Fred earlier, that really gravitated me towards, working with you on stuff and just kind of hanging out and just, talking about life in general.
Tino, when I met you, I was sitting in the back of a computer shop removing spyware and porno from people's hard drives.
You were, man, but you were still a rock star all the way.
All right,
through it
buddy,
all.
thank you.
So, now let's kind of talk a little bit about the gear that you had. You used the BC Rich back in the day. I think you mentioned you still have that, right?
Yep, I still have that. I had a bunch. I had 3 or 4 of them. One of them went to the Hard Rock Cafe, and that was wonderful. It's still floating around out there. I get emails occasionally, or people send videos, so that was a big, proud day for me. I still have the original BC Rich, the one that Bernie Rico made and fixed the broken neck on it. When I got it back, it played better than when I bought it. As far as the amps and guitars, I also played some standard Les Pauls back in the day. And interestingly enough, that you had Fred on, I put in my BC Rich and my Les Pauls, before we did the first Danzig album, I went to Sam Ash Music, I think it was 48th Street in Manhattan, and played every guitar in the place they had. And I drove the people crazy because I had like 20 or 30 guitars out there playing the same mother chords, B, G, and A, over and over and over. And I settled on a Paul Reed Smith guitar. So I bought Paul Reed Smith pickups, standard and treble, and had them put in all my guitars.
Wow.
And to this day, I'm still using those. They had a well-balanced, even sound. You know, the Gibson guitars were either too mushy or too bright, and the PRS stuff was really good. I had a PRS for a brief period of time, but the band hated it, so they threatened to smash it. So I had to get rid of it and get another Les Paul.
Well, John, you know, it's always too short for us to, you know, to talk. We're going to be coming down to the last few seconds. So I want, within a couple of sentences, what would you share to those people that are trying to get into the biz, that are wanting to be, you know, guitar gurus like yourself?
I would say keep it simple. You know, keep your gear as simple as you can get away with. You know, simple amplifiers, stomp boxes, standard guitars, Gibson, Fender guitars. Don't have to go for the newest, most expensive. Just go for something that works, that's easy, and bulletproof. And then as far as the music goes, you know, play what you love to play, but pay attention to your audience, because the experience of music is not magical until there's an audience who can share it with the performer.
And that's it.
So these days, live performance is becoming more important. People are loving to go to shows, and it's the connection that the listener and the performer has that creates the magic, and that's why we love it.
Thank you, John. This is Florentino.
Hey, this is Heidi Rue, and you know, Progressive Medical Center has literally changed my life and my health, but I'm not the only one. Adele suffered from bone deterioration, bone overgrowth, profound muscle discomfort, physical exhaustion, and mental fog. In fact, the bone deterioration becomes so serious that she had to have back surgery. Well, after the surgery, she still didn't feel well, and so that's when she heard about Progressive Medical Center. Progressive Medical Center discovered that her adrenals weren't working properly, her hormones were out of whack, and the drugs she had been taking were doing more harm than good. Adele came into Progressive Medical Center in a walker, physically and mentally exhausted. But now she's a world traveler. She hikes and walks several miles a day, and it's all thanks to Progressive Medical Center. 770-676-6000. 770-676-6000.
Progressive Medical. This is your life. Live it well.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine, and we'll give you a meal for your mind. Connected World Magazine is dedicated to reporting on the next generation of M2M and connected devices. Subscribe today for only $12.97 at connectedworldmag.com/subscribe. Written for the fast-paced, device-enthused individual or business, Connected World Magazine provides unique insight and analysis to all things connected. Subscribe today for only $12.97 at connectedworldmag.com/subscribe. Connected World. Living the connected life has never been easier.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Hi, this is Felix Taberna, host of Race and Sports Radio. Join our cast and crew every Saturday and Sunday right here at WSRadio.com, beginning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Race and Sports Radio.